I'm a web designer, digital marketer. My business is KLH Technology Solutions, and I've been growing that business for 16 years now. Okay, a little bit about me. So my background, I grew up the oldest of 4 kids, and I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. I always loved math and computers. I remember 7th grade, our school got brand new computers, Apple computers, and I wrote my first program in DOS. I was so excited. I still remember that. Then jumping to high school, I got to connect with a couple great computer teachers, learn typing, and I was pretty nerdy and quiet and shy, and I ended up for my senior project writing a statistics program. So that was kind of what I enjoyed and kind of where I was headed. So coming out of that, I ended up, well, I'll go on the next screen for my education. So my family, we didn't have a lot of money since 4 kids. I ended up getting a lot of scholarships and grants, and that paid for all of school for me, and I worked really hard at that. So that was a lot of work, but it was well worth it in the long run. Okay, so I went to Western Oregon University in Monmouth. My bachelor's degree is in computer science and mathematics, so my focus was programming, IT, and database development. I ended up working 3 of my 4 years there at the public relations office for the university, and I got some experience right next to the president's office, working with the college and the sports programs and press releases, and I wrote a database for them. But I also ended up working with the business office below me to create the college's first website, and that's what got me really interested in web design from that point on. Alrighty, so I graduated 4 years. That was a push. My last few credits I got from a trip I went to Europe, and that was a lot of fun. It was a good way to end my college years. Then my first job was Salem, Oregon, Truett Brothers Cannery. So I had a bunch of titles. I was the IT manager and did tech support. We had about 75 computers and 4 servers, and I helped manage those. It was me and my boss, just 2 of us that did that. I developed a purchasing order program that kind of integrated to some of their other systems. I remember doing a bean counter database where they tracked loads coming in and out of the cannery, and then I managed their website. During that time, I worked there 4 years. My first contract job, my uncle actually had contacted me, was for a Choco, I don't know how you say it, National Forest, and I created a water cost estimator database which did a bunch of calculations for them. And that kind of got me thinking about, oh, this contract work, this is something I could do for myself. So it kind of got my wheels turning on how I could make extra money. All right, so I worked there 4 years. I bought my own house, and I decided to get married. So I quit my job, which I loved, and got married and moved to Montana. So I was immediately pregnant right after I was there and very sick. And once my son was born, I started working nap times. And that's how my business got started. My first client was a friend of mine. I met her, Kristen, in a computer class in college, and her sister contacted me. She was starting a portfolio management software company in Portland, Oregon. And I did their first website, did several revisions afterwards, and worked with them, ended up over 11 years. And she ended up making a lot more connections for me. She was kind of my mentor, helped me grow my business. She connected me to a graphic designer who sent a lot of business my way. And that's how I just kept growing. So I worked nap times, and after 2 kids, I moved to California. California, I got my neighbors helping babysit for me while I worked nap times. I had a high school kid come over after school so she could hold the baby so I could work. So I did whatever I could to make my business successful. Pretty much I didn't market my business much. I kept having referrals from people after people, which was the great way to do it. I just had to do a good job. And I never told anybody no. So I've kind of taught myself. I had my background in college, but all of the new skills I learned after that, it was people asking me, can you do this? I'd be like, no, but I'll figure it out. And so I just kept doing one thing after another after another. I learned how to bill clients. I learned to do my own accounting, taxes, working for yourself, how to organize all of that and make it, I wasn't gonna work if I couldn't pay my babysitter. I just had to make enough to cover that and make it worth my while. So I had to be very organized with my time. And it all came down to building relationships with clients. And I still have clients that I've worked with 12, 13, 14 years now, or since the beginning. I've been doing this 16. Okay, KLH Technologies Solutions. So currently, my tagline is your web solutions partner. Currently, I work with over 25 clients a month, and I'm actively growing my business. I have several contractors I work with, a few graphic designers, a couple that do similar work that I do, and I guess my sister helps me out sometimes too with data entry. So you can see here is just a few clients that I work with. So I work with a wide variety, which I like. I never get bored. So I learn something in one industry that works, and a lot of times I'm able to apply it to different industries or know what won't work in another industry. So it gives me a broad range. It's like farm and garden, massage school, dentists, authors, therapists, realtors, construction, artists, whole variety. Here are a few of my bigger clients I've been working for. I just went back to Washington, D.C. Beta Tech Hop Products. They create innovative solutions for hops and do a lot of research there. And I manage their social media and their website and their online advertising. Jansen Construction Company, it's a big construction firm in Oregon City. Bauman's Farm and Garden, Woodburn, Oregon. They're actually family. I remember picking berries for them. It was my first job when I was in high school. Massage School, Northwest Timber, and Powers is a new client of mine. They sell trail mix here in town. So just to give you an idea, a little bit of the variety that I work with for clients. I love it because I'm never bored. Alright, so this is kind of my short summary of what I do. I feel like I have a lot of titles, you know. I'm a web designer, developer, programmer, hacker, entrepreneur. I do what it takes to get businesses where they need to go with their budget. So web design development is probably my favorite, and then search engine optimization after that. And search engine optimization is just doing whatever is needed to drive more traffic to your website. Social media marketing. I work with, you know, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Those are the main ones I work with, and I do posting for people, or I do ads. Sometimes I write content, I research hashtags, whatever it takes to help market on social for them. Digital marketing, I love email marketing. Building your email list is your greatest asset in any business, because you can keep you know, retargeting the same people or selling to them. And pay-per-click management is AdWords, Facebook ads. That's what I mean. It's cost per click. Search engine optimization takes time, but ads you're always paying for advertising. E-commerce, I love e-commerce sites. The Huge Timber website that I work with has over 10,000 products, and I just migrated that to a new server and software this last year. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. WordPress, I do a lot of that. There's a lot of built-in modules and stuff for that software, so I'm not writing code from scratch. So I usually take code and get it to do what I want it to. Web hosting, I'm a hosting reseller, so it's another way of earning a little extra income since I'm already kind of in the business. Graphic design, I never thought I would do graphic design. I found that when I created websites, people weren't taking the next steps and getting them to look nicer. They were very basic, or they wouldn't take the next step for marketing. So that's why I ended up learning marketing, learning more design to be able to do all of that myself. A new service I have is review generation, boosting reviews online and managing your reputation. I've seen good, bad, ugly, all of that. content writing and blogging. I'm really good at editing. I even edited a book this last January. So I love tackling new projects, and I'm trying to encourage all my clients to blog. Okay, benefits of owning your own business. I love being my own boss. A few years ago, I was looking at full-time jobs again because I wasn't sure what was going to happen if I got divorced, which happened last year, and that was very hard. But I feel like with my 3 kids, it's really benefited me because I have been flexible, very flexible with their schedule and to work around them. And it's been great. I can still put in my hours when I need and make income to live off of. Unlimited earning potential. A job, you're at a fixed income. And this, I could take a new client, a new project, and I can make more. So there's no glass ceiling like in the corporate world. So I love that about what I do. And then growth, learning opportunities. Even if you go work for another business company, you want to make sure that they're providing continuing education for you so you keep growing that way. And me, when I'm not working all the time, then I'll focus on learning and new stuff. But I get stuff thrown at me all the time, so I'm always learning and I'm always educating my clients as well. Okay, typical day for me, pretty basic. Take kids to school. That's first and foremost. Get through all my emails, and then I do my high priority work first. Things that are critical that need done, or even if a website's hacked or something doesn't come up or an email quits working, the high priority things I do first. Answer phone calls, website updates for current clients, work on one-time projects, pay bills, run errands, make dinner, and relax if I'm lucky and don't have more work to do. Challenges and kind of how I overcome them a little bit. I just came up with a few that I've struggled with. Clients not paying on time. That's always fun when owning your own business if you don't have an accounting person working for you. But I work with them. I learned QuickBooks. I used to have an accountant, but now I do it all myself at the moment. And yeah, it's just communicating to make sure you're on the same page. Once you get good paying clients, you definitely want to keep them. Errors that need fixed. Everybody, every day is saying, Kara, something's wrong, fix this, help me. And some days there's too many things to fix. And I'm like, this is too much to do. So sometimes that can be challenging, but just taking one thing at a time. Too much work in a day. Sometimes I'll work evenings, weekends, even when my kids are home. But I try to work only when they're in school. It's just a little less stressful that way. But sometimes that can be a challenge. And part of it's just organizing my clients. I feel like I always need to learn more. Technology is always changing and there's more to learn. Working evenings and weekends. Said I try to keep this limited, but if I have a huge project and I need the extra money, I'm like, yep, let's do it. Too many ideas, not enough time. I am so full of ideas that I'm working for everybody else and not my own ideas because I don't get paid immediately. So yeah, always need more time. Okay, what I enjoy, helping people solve problems, offering services that make businesses successful. I think part of my drive sometimes is the money, the income, but a lot of times it's helping people get to the next level in their business and see the income and potential that they have. I love being a resource. I love connecting people, becoming friends with clients. I've had clients for 13, 14 years, and we just have a great connection. They refer people to me, and we can just sit and talk and have regular conversations, or even go out for a drink sometimes. Positive encouragement. I always want to hold on to clients who are very positive. The ones that drag you down or micromanage or penny pinch, those definitely are not enjoyable to work with. Continuous learning and working with a variety of industries, being an entrepreneur, and I love what I do. I mean, you can't beat it if you love what you do, and I really do. Okay, my advice, especially just you've been in school for a while, but showing up, that's the first thing. What I always talk to my kids about. Stay healthy. I struggled with lots and lots of health issues through college and beyond. I even had 2 surgeries in the last 3 years, and this is the healthiest I've ever been, and I just keep going. But it's very important because if you aren't, then it kind of drags you down and it's frustrating and more stressful. learning how to learn. It almost doesn't matter what you learn, it's learning how to learn it. So that way you can apply it to whatever you are doing in your next job, your next class. Enjoy the learning process. Sometimes I didn't do that. I was too stressed because I had to get through this book. I had to memorize this. And I think if I would have relaxed a little bit, it might have made college even a little bit easier. Don't procrastinate. I talk to my kids often about this. It's best to get done right away and not wait till last minute. Trying new things. I used to be very shy and quiet, and I've had to push myself out of my comfort zone a lot. But otherwise, I wouldn't have met certain people. I wouldn't have done certain things, and it's very important. Making connections. Any new person I meet, even if it like scares me or somebody's intimidating, you never know how they're going to benefit you or you can benefit them. And I've had friendships and made connections that have lasted a lifetime. Alrighty, questions and answers. Do you have any questions for me after all of that?
Do you have a question off the top of your head?
Go ahead.
Can you speak to how you used the skills in your bachelor's degree and then applying them to your first job and developing them through work? So like students are always saying, I'm not going to be using calculus in my future career. I'm not going to be using Python in my future career. Well, I'm just making up words, but.
Right, yeah.
So can you speak to that?
Part of that was learning how to learn. It was part of it, the math and the computer science was thinking logically, how to problem solve and think through steps and be able to write them out. In calculus and beyond, you're writing proofs. And you're kind of writing down all the ways to do, not to do something to get to the end result. And I think just organizing, logically thinking that way, you can apply that to any job that you have. Having the computer programming background, it helps you think of all use case scenarios. So it just gives you a more rounded approach on how to tackle problems and to solve them. So I kind of look at that from an overall. The programming though, for me, even though I don't do much like programming from scratch now, I have that all in my background and I can look at code and it's not foreign to me. I can read through it and be like, okay, this, I can tweak this here and I'm good to go. I still use it rather than someone who doesn't have that background. It's like, oh, I can do a web design with a template, pull it up, just the front end. They don't get the back end, and then you can't customize. You're just limited in what you can do. But yeah, math, my kids ask me a lot too about math. When am I ever going to use this?
That's a good answer though. I like the problem solving component.
The problem solving, I think that's
and the logic.
Me the most, yeah. But even math, I was working on this e-commerce site and I put in like 3 coupon codes on it. We couldn't figure out the calculation. It took me a half an hour. I was in Excel and I did it every which way and I figured it out and I'm like, yes. I'm like, I had my math lesson for today and I figured it, and it worked. So, it's kind of neat to see where it does pop up and where you use that. Even, I've always been a numbers person, but how you can even take your numbers and apply that to your financial stuff. Because I do monthly invoicing and I'm always calculating, running reports, comparing my months, and you're always working with data that way as well. That's in kind of a lesser form, I guess, math, when you get up to the higher levels.
Do you have a subject or a class that students may not need to take for their degree, but that you would suggest or you think is really beneficial? Like maybe there's a certain programming language you would suggest people learn, or
That's a good
another
question.
similar skill.
Right. I learned several programming languages, and in college, C++ I think was the main one, and then Java. If you're doing website stuff, JavaScript can give you kind of a good, like from web perspective, PHP and ASP.NET are the two. PHP is used a lot with WordPress. Web design, WordPress, a lot of people use that. It's very customizable. I was just talking to an Uber driver who did not want to drive for the rest of his life. He's like, yeah, I'm taking HTML and CSS, what else should I take? I'm like, well, it depends your interest. Do you really want to go into IT and working with people? You might want to work more, learning more server software. You might want to do something more hardware related. Do you like database development? If that's the case, then you might want to learn more SQL. SQL would be a great class to take for that. I even love drafting, and I took some AutoCAD classes, which I even did that at the Camry I worked for, and I love that stuff. If I would have probably been pushed a little bit more, I would have gone that direction, because I found it a lot of fun. So I feel like you have to try several different things to see what you like. And it depends if you're going for say you want to do app development. That's totally different than website development. So you might want to take an app development class. That's something that interests me, but I don't have time for. But that's totally different software you would need to use. So that gives you a few ideas there. YouTube, you can find anything, and there's a couple other, sites. But yeah.
This might be a personal question. Can you speak to the workaholic in you? So I'm a personal workaholic, but I only get paid for 40 hours a week. And so that at least gives me a cutoff that
Right,
I don't
yeah.
get paid, but you get paid for the more hours you work or the more work you put in.
Yes, I do. The workaholic can be hard at times because sometimes there are deadlines, sometimes I set them up myself, Sometimes I just want to get something done whether I'm paid or not, because it's going to bug me until I figure it out, because I'm kind of a problem-solving person. So working till exhaustion is not great. So I am learning, I've gone through phases, and learning to manage your time is very important. Actually take time for myself and for my children as well. I love being busy, and I love what I do, so it doesn't even seem like work sometimes when I am doing that. But I think having a schedule and set times, setting some boundaries so I don't work myself to death or get burnt out has been helping me manage that.
That's good.
We're always learning in progress too, so there's always more to learn. But it is very different being very structured and organized when you have your own business and self-motivating yourself. Sometimes a mentor can be very helpful if you just have a few questions, or I've even thought about maybe even having an intern, I could have, that could even help me out. Internships are great. I think another thing too, if you're working while going to school, you need to do an internship, or even if you don't get paid much, for something that's going to benefit you in the long run, rather than working retail or working as a waiter in a restaurant, something like that. The experience is huge, especially coming out of school. People want to see that experience when getting a new job. I don't even feel like with what I do now, people even really care about the degrees. Can you do the work?
Any other questions, Chance?
I'm gonna have to email her.
Okay.
Yeah, you can email me anytime. Yeah, you said you checked out my website, so.